So from the video I just did a couple of days ago, here's the most recent Martinshorn acquisition, the melodic one from Eastern Germany. And I don't really want to leave it displayed just propped up against another speaker like this in my instrument display area. And here's the one I got from Bulgaria a number of years ago. It's the same size, but it's only a 5-pipe chordal unit, and I'd like to display it similarly. But this area is really congested. I don't see how I could fit any more in. And pardon all the junk. I've just been moving a bunch of instruments around and open case and things like this. But I had this bright idea. I have these Magnapan speakers that I don't really use anymore. They work, but mostly I just use the smaller speakers down here. This is also my home theater area, pull down screen. The Maggies just aren't ideal for that, so, but they're here. And I got this bright idea that these Martinshorns would look good hanging in this space from the top of the speaker down to just a little bit above the lower speaker, just kind of in this space. And to that end, I've made a couple of these little brackets. These are actually quite heavily built. There's a big heavy wooden frame on these. And the speaker doesn't start till about here, so this is all into the frame area. And I'm going to do a little slideshow of just a few pictures I took making these. But they are designed to slip on, and they can be positioned sideways easily, depending on how I want the instruments to be displayed in front of the speaker. I might go a little bit to the left because I have these lights here. And I haven't completely decided how I'm going to hang them yet. This is sort of a shoot from the hip kind of deal. But I put a groove in the wood, and I've ordered a couple of inexpensive baritone saxophone neck straps, which have a nice cord that's not really very thick, but it's strong enough to hold the weight of a baritone sax, which is more than the Martinshorns weigh, although maybe not by a whole lot. They're pretty heavy. And a nice hook on the end that can go into the designated strap hanger loop on the horns. And I'm pretty sure that it's just like thumb to pinky finger distance. I can't hardly get back to where I'm trying to go here. Yeah, it's the same distance. It's probably a standard dimension. And so these are designed to hold the weight of the instrument. And I can just hang them from there using the saxophone neck strap, hook, and cord, and just get rid of the part that goes around the player's neck. And then the cord can go, it'll probably be 2 parallel cords, but they can go through this channel to keep them centered. And then somewhere up here on the top, right about in this area, I'll put in a screw to loop the cord around and anchor it there. And then they'll just sit there and hang from these. It's as decorative as I can reasonably make it. And I'm also printing dust covers because the instruments are hanging with their bells up, and dust will go in and get into the reeds and everything. So now I'll go back to the making of video. Alright, here's just a quickie slideshow showing a couple stages in the making of the hangers from the Magnapans down to the Martinshorns. So I just had some scrap oak board. It was 3/4 of an inch. I resawed it down to a bit more than 1/2 inch, then planed it down and made two of the horizontal parts, that's on the right, with countersunk holes, and then two front vertical paddles, those are on the far left. I didn't have enough of the oak to make the rear paddles, but those are behind the speakers anyway and aren't particularly visible, so I used some Baltic birch for that. It was also 3/4 of an inch or thereabouts, and I had to resaw it and then plane it down to get the desired thickness. And I'm just using drywall screws and glue to put it together. Once the paddles were screwed and glued onto the top parts, I had some small misalignments just from dimensional inaccuracies. You can see that in the photo. I had to do some additional sanding to get everything nice and level, and then did a finish sanding. Here they are, all sanded and ready for varnishing. Here's with the first coat of varnish on them. And here's after the second coat of varnish. You can see the different coloration on the Baltic birch rear paddles compared to the nicer color on the parts that are made of solid oak. And I have these just propped up. I only put one coat of varnish in between the paddles so I can hang it from a stick there, and I put it outside to let it dry in the sun. And here they are, complete, except for putting in a screw to hold the cord from the hanging hook. But otherwise, I think they came out looking pretty decent. So, when I display these Martinshorns, they're probably going to hang there for a long time in between uses, and dust can collect in there and fall down inside the different horns and accumulate around the reeds and cause problems with the way the reeds sound. They might stop altogether, they might just get a choked sound, they may be squawky. So I want to have some sort of a dust cover for each of the horns. And they're all a little bit different in size, so I've taken my melodic Martinshorn and my chordal Martinshorn, which only has 5 horns on it, as opposed to the 8 for the melodic one, and I've measured the inner diameter and the outer diameter, the ID and the OD of the plug that will go in there, assuming each one is 4 millimeters. These are all in millimeters. So the part that fits inside will be 4 millimeters tall and 77 millimeters diameter. The part that sits up on the rim of the horn will be 4 millimeters tall and 87 millimeters in diameter. The overall plug will be 8 millimeters, 4 plus 4. So I've just been farting around here in Tinkercad, and I've decided that I'm going to put a inlaid piece of text on the top surface of each of these plugs, which is ME for melodic and CH for chordal, and then a hyphen, and then the name of the pipe as it's stamped on the horn. In this case, a G. So what I've done is I've made 2 discs. Each of them are 4 millimeters tall or thick. The diameters are the ones I've already described. This is for the largest one on the melodic instrument. Then I've created a text object that is it's grouped in there, so I can't get its dimensions now, but it seemed like a good size that would work even on the smaller ones. It could be a lot larger here, but then the text would be too big for the smaller dust covers. So MEG, and I grouped that with the larger disc so it won't be a pain when manipulating this. And I've just selected everything to center alignment. And I've made the text negative space, or a hole, so that it acts as a recess. So I'm going to do that a bunch of times, just changing the dimensions. It was only the work of maybe 10 minutes to make all of the dust covers in Tinkercad. Once I had the first one, it was just a matter of doing an equivalent of a save as operation several times and just tweaking the diameters and the text. That went very quickly. Now I can fit 4 of the largest ones onto the workspace in my Prusa slicer, and because they are terraced with the big side up, that'll cause an overlap that'll be hard to print without support. So I'm flipping these over like flipping a pancake. I've already done these two. I just select that one, I go over here, and that's the Y dimension. I put in 180 and it flips it over, and now you can see the smaller diameter one is facing up. I'll do the same thing here. Alright, and I got to do a save project as. Okay, got that saved. And I'm gonna create a new project. And drag in the next few. So I'm starting with the melodic D prime. So I just drag that over and do likewise for E prime. And once more, F prime. Try to get as many on here as I can. And then the last one will be G prime. And I ought to be able to fit on a couple from the other side. Squeeze these guys on here. And let's see, I'll start with the small ones, so I'll do CHE prime. And CHD prime. There we go. Now I got to do a save as on that, and I won't bore you with the details, but this will be done in a few minutes. Okay, I've done a typical slice here, and this is what the bottommost layer looks like, and I can show how it's going to build up. And right around 1 millimeter we start going into the gyroid infill. And then we start getting to the point about halfway up, almost 4 millimeters, where it starts skinning it again. And now it starts building the smaller diameter. All infill. Then it finally skins it over on the top. Then all I have to do is export the G code. Okay, that's done. I think that the Prusa software has decided to do one of these after another as far as the first layer, so it should still fill in the fourth object down here. However, I didn't pay enough attention to the print time. It was 7 hours and something. It's going to take quite a while to print these 4 objects. And I don't like having this machine running when I'm not around, and I have a gig to play in that I have to leave for in less than 6 hours, so I'm going to have to abort this print because I don't want to let it run while I'm away. Luckily it hasn't got very far into it yet, but I'm going to wait to see if it at least starts printing the 4th object before I abort it. After restarting the job and then going to dinner with some friends, I'm still on the lower level of this because it's still printing the through characters. Or maybe it's just starting to seal those over, perhaps. Yeah, I think it is starting to skin over. So it's right at the 4mm point. Now, 41 minutes to go. It's starting to skin over the infill, but it has to build a layer on top of that. That'll take the remaining about 40 minutes. Then these big old hockey pucks will be done and I can start the next batch. Alright. Okay, here are the first 4 dust cover bell plugs, all marked ME for melodic, for the melodic instrument, and starting with G, A, B in German, which is H, and C prime when we shift into the next octave, so G, A, B, C. And of course they all have the terrorist reduction in size to fit inside the bell flare. So those came out just like I wanted them to, assuming I didn't screw up the dimensions somehow. Okay, an overnight run, and I got these 6 parts here. I'm really pleased with the way the text is coming out. I wasn't sure it would be as legible as it is. The hot end and the bed are warming up for the 3rd batch, and that'll be it. Alright, here's my cheap Barry Sachs neck strap. They had an option for one with a metal clip and one with a plastic clip, but the metal one was more expensive and not in stock at Amazon. So here's the strap. Actually, nice comfy part to go around the neck. It's got the take-up clutch there, and it has the actual hook, and that's the part I really need along with the cord. Alright, let's see this thing here. So I can definitely hoist the horn up, hang it from that strap. It's actually one of two. There's another one down here on the valve section, if it would stop spinning around crazily. That would be the bottom of a strap that would go up and around your shoulder and then go to that. But I would think either one of them can carry the weight. They just attach to different parts of the instrument. Alright, first thing to do is get rid of the part I definitely don't need. And I don't need this clutch on there either. So I'm left with this piece of cord that's roughly 26 inches long, which I think will be plenty long. And I need to tie one end off here and then devise a means to secure the other end. As it goes over there, and then tie it off back here, but in a way that's adjustable, keeping in mind that this is up higher than my head, so I can't see what's up here when I'm standing on the floor, and everything beyond this is behind the speaker, so I could let the whole length of cord that I'm not using just hang back there and allow for future adjustability. Okay, first off, I just put a little CA glue or super glue into the ends of the fibers and hit it with accelerant to seal it up. This does not appear to be nylon. I'm sure it's some sort of synthetic, but I was reluctant to try burning it to melt the ends together, so I'm using the glue technique instead. But I do have to trim off a little bit of garbage there. And I think I'm going to do a double Davy knot, which is really, I think, commonly used for tying lures and things onto fishing line. But it's supposed to be a fairly secure knot and pretty simple. So I'm going to try my hand at making one of those. I've never made a double Davy knot before. First I go through the eyelet, and then the free end goes over the running end. And then it goes behind the running end and over the end coming from the eyelet. Then I tuck it around behind that one and go over the running end. Kind of like that. And then it should go over the running end and down over the loop back end, whatever that's properly called. Kind of like that. Wonder if this would show up. This might show up better without the white paper towel behind it. So let's see. This guy goes under, then over, then under, then over. Under, over, under, over. So that's correct. And then the end coming out of the buckle, or the eyelet, first goes under the free end, over, under, yep, that appears to be the right construction. Now I just need to tighten it up. There, I made a fairly compact knot, and pulling on it hard, it doesn't look like something that's likely to give loose. So I think that's the knot I'm going to use. Okay, both of those double Davy knots are made on both buckles. So just rummaging around through my leftovers drawer, I found these two, actually stainless steel. I think these are number 10 sheet metal screws, cap heads on them, and more importantly, big fender washers. So I can go through one washer, pinch the cord between that and another washer, and then screw into the wood. And it won't just be the clamping pressure, it'll be the fact that I can loop the cord around the screw between the washers and get it pinched really nicely in there. Okay, I've driven the screws all the way through the pilot holes to make the threads into the wood, and they're a little bit long, so I need to go in and grind off the tips. Alright, screw 2 washers. I don't think it's going to slip. Alright, I've just done a sample wrapping the cord around the screw once between the washers, and I'm going to tighten it down a bit. Okay, I've been doing a pull test on this, and I haven't been able to budge it, and it's not even tightened all the way down. So I think that's good. And from the perspective of being on the ground, it's going to look like that. Just has that cord hanging off of it. Alright. These are made, adjusted for length, snugged up. And I don't have quite the same length of cable on this end, but I'm not sure they were exactly the same to start with. And I used a little bit different amount of cord on the knots here, and they might be off by 1/4 of an inch or something in length, but it won't be possible to tell that when they're across the room from each other. Alright, there they are. I've got the lights dimmed down because they were making too much glare for the video, but there is one hanging. And the other one across there. Success. Okay, 3rd print batch complete. Okay, here's a stack of the plugs for the chordal instrument, starting with the biggest pipe, the G pipe. Sits in there pretty as you please. And then the next biggest will be the H pipe, and that sits in there. Next biggest will be the C. And then the E, or E prime. And finally the D prime, which is trying to twist away from me. Well, everything fit perfectly except for CHD prime, which ended up being about 1 millimeter too large on the part that fits inside the bell. That bell is actually a bit ovaloid, and when I'd measured it unfortunately across the widest dimension. And it's easier just to print another one of these with a slightly smaller ID than to try to straighten out that bell. So I'll be doing that, but I won't be showing it in this video. Alright, this is how they all fit in there. Very nice, pretty as you please. And unless you tip the instrument too much, they won't fall out. Is this a stupid idea? I don't know, but it gets them up off the floor and much better displayed, and doesn't hurt the speakers at all. So I think it's a win. It's a little better.